and one of the finest horn players in America. Welcome to the show. Sandra Holbrook, welcome to the program. Supervisor Rutherford, hello. Scott Thorpe, the commercial broker, welcome to the show. Seth Batten, the residential broker, welcome to the show. Ricardo Cruz Durant, the mortgage broker, hello, and thank you for joining us. Catherine Lochner, the one-time school board candidate, watching the show. Nikki Chambliss, welcome to the program of Keller Williams Alliance. Liza Borges, hello. Tripp Stewart, the real estate investor, welcome to the program. Seth Liskey, the Stanton. Man, Seth, you got quite a holding, a lot of real estate holdings over there, Seth. Viewers and listeners, let's have some fun. Long Island, welcome to the program. I'm ready to rock and roll. J-Dubs, you feeling good? Agents, brokers, mortgage brokers, investors, movers and shakers, folks in the private equity space, we're getting deeper in the PE space. Get ready to rock and roll.
This is your opportunity to ask an appraiser phenom, Woody Fincham, your questions. So go ahead and shout out and put them in the feed to ask good old Woody Fincham.
I love it. I absolutely love it. We're in your
I'm
hands
disappointed
there,
you shaved your beard.
I like it.
I liked it when it was longer, man.
I mean, I liked it either way.
It looked really good on you, that whole metalhead thing you had going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's just time for a change.
Time for a change, huh?
Yeah. It'll be back, I'm sure.
And he's got the holidays around the photo, around the hedge, if you may.
Oh my God, has that snuck up on everybody?
I mean, Thanksgiving is next week.
I know. I've like Yon and I went on our morning 5:30 morning walk that we do every morning.
Thank you, Judah. Way to take charge right there. I like that.
Thank you, Judah. It'd be better if you had a microphone in front of you, but thank you for doing that. But
He's going to count us in here.
I can't believe that next week is Thanksgiving. That just snuck up on us.
Yeah, we're doing 2 Thanksgivings because of family stuff.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Guys, good Wednesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us live in downtown Charlottesville in the Macklin Building, about, 30 steps from City Hall, 50 steps from City Hall, 10 steps from the mayor's office. This is Real Talk with Keith Smith on a chilly Wednesday morning, and a lot to cover on the program. When Woody Fincham is in the house, one of the best appraisers in the Commonwealth of Virginia, data is going to be a hot topic, and today matches that criteria. Woody is about to catch a aeroplane to the West Coast, to sunny San Diego, where I'm sure the weather will be quite different than today. We are heading into the holiday season, a time of real estate and buying and selling that is, how would we characterize it, Keith Smith?
Ooh, let's say we're kind of back. We're going to be back to our normal, I think, holiday Christmas routine. We'll talk a little bit about this, but I found some new sources to put together some slides and some data out of Realtor.com. So a shout out to them. But we'll kick off a show a little bit. But I was taking a look at the pending listing counts. These are the number of homes where sales were accepted on contracts going from January 17. All the way up to October of this month, so it's month over month. We're about a third lower pending contracts in October than we were in January 17th. So I think everybody seems to be taking a bit of a time out, waiting to see what the interest rates are going to do, and I'd love to get into that conversation today because they've been dropping. We'll see if our friend Scott Morris was right, that we're going to get a little bit lower by the end of the year. We shall see, but I'm just taking a quick look at it. Week over week, there's only 36 homes. Last 7 days, only 36 homes went into active. So in other words, new on the market in the last 7 days. I don't think I've ever seen it that low.
Woody Fincham, let's get him on a 3-shot. Anywhere you want to go on this. And Woody, I got some pointed questions for you. Daniel Miller, welcome to the broadcast. Supervisor Price, hello. Real estate investor Jamie Turner, welcome to the program. Woody, anywhere you want to go?
I think Keith's right. I think we're heading into a more normal market than we've been in a long time. I mean, traditionally, Christmas is always going to be a little bit slower around that time. And then, when spring hits, we pump back up. But, I mean, we always have, some stuff going on over the holidays. So I just know that it's nice to, you could take a week off after Christmas in my firm, and you're really not missing a whole lot most years. It wasn't that way last year or the year before, but other than
Yeah, you're busy. We had that conversation yesterday. You're buried.
we are pretty swamped. We went.
Same over here.
It's amazing. I mean, the amount of private work that we're getting, and then commercial side stuff. It's all residential in the commercial, but folks who own big portfolios are moving a lot of money around right now. So we're working with a lot of banks on that stuff. It's good work.
So describe what you mean by private stuff.
So doing litigation work, partition cases, where heirs are inheriting property and suing each other because someone wants to liquidate it. Divorces, that seems to never stop. I've got several of those lined up right now, and doing some consults too. We've had a few appraisers across the country that are retaining us to help them with competency issues on doing solar PV valuation and high performing home valuation as well.
What about folks reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to put my house on the market. Can you evaluate that?" Is that business picking up a little bit?
No, that's actually trickled down a bit. We usually have a few of those in the pipe, but right now I don't have any.
So to put this a little in perspective, because everybody who's watched the show know this, Mr. Miller sit across the street a couple of years across the table from me, taught me a couple of years ago how to take pictures and timestamp them on that. So this exact week last year, there were 64 homes that came on the market, ending today, 7 days back. There's 36. I'm going to call that half. It's pretty damn close to half. So half of the homes came on the market the last 7 days versus the same 7 days ending, it was November 16th, but in any event, ending on the same day or approximately the same day. And it's interesting, open houses were 7 that time, that we're up to 95.
What was the prevailing interest rate that week?
That's a great question. I will look that up while somebody else chats here real quick. Let me look up the prevailing rate for that.
Viewers and listeners, chime in with questions. You can shape the discussion. It's a dynamic program. We welcome your perspective. Days on market are getting a little long in the tooth with some of these listings, Woody. Do we expect price adjustments to be more prolific, or do we expect the DOM metric to continue to grow longer?
I think it's going to start growing longer. I mean, our firm services a big part of the Commonwealth. For mansion level stuff, we go all over the state. So I spend a lot of money with a lot of different MLSs, and because of that, I get a lot of marketing emails from agents from various associations. And we're seeing, like down in Lynchburg and Roanoke, they seem to be going longer on the market than they have been. So those markets tend to be a little more reactive than we are here. I think we're pretty insulated here because of the university and healthcare system that really helps the economy and helps us stay as stable as possible. But I am definitely seeing some of the tertiary markets and secondary markets out there you're starting to see price improvements is what everyone's calling them now. Price improvements.
Same question for you, Keith.
I'm going to push back a little bit, but to answer your question, November this week, last year, 30-year was 6.97. I haven't checked what the rate is right now, so we'll call that 7%. I think we're a little bit above 7.25, something like that. But then going back, Woody, to the same week last year, there was 47. They call them price changes. We'll call them price changes. It's the exact same number as this week, 47. So we were talking about a chart that I put together that I was reluctant to show that shows the price changes being stable kind of for years. I think that might be true.
I think so.
I don't know.
It's like an anomaly to me.
I'm just looking. I'll pull a couple of weeks, but it's literally the same number. The same week ended last year. It was 47 price changes, and we're at 47 price changes right now. Back on market is a little higher. So that's interesting. There's 20, actually lower, I apologize. There was back on market with 20 this same week a year ago. There's 6 now. So there's less back on market than there was a year ago, but the price changes or the price modifications are staying the same. But solds are way off. Solds are 41. They were 94 a week ago, a year ago. Pendings were 60 a year ago, and we're at 51. So I think what you're seeing in the marketplace, and this is what I'm hearing on the street, everybody's kind of waiting for something to happen. Clearly,
Waiting for what? Rates to move?
I guess rates.
Inventory to uptick?
That's a great question. When I ask people what they're waiting for, I generally get I don't know, right? And we start talking that
So
through.
is this a little paralysis of analysis happening with the
I
market?
think it's a paralysis of analysis. I think people are waiting for something to happen that they don't know what that is.
Because the Fed, and Woody, you jump in, the Fed has made it clear that rates are going to stay in this spot into 2024.
Sure. Yeah, I can't speak for consumers, but my guess is that with all the international stuff that's going on right now, we're getting ready to walk into a really contested presidential election. I mean, that's causing a lot of problems. The hyperbolic media is really hitting the consumers with all of this information as far as the markets go for real estate. I think they're just getting numb to it, and they're just, I wouldn't want to make any major financial decision right now. I'm just, your normal 9 to 5, or I would have uncertainty in what we're seeing right now.
And I'm going to throw this at you because I want to pick your brain for a second. Jerry and I have been talking about forever about tracking days on market as kind of an indicator of when the market's going to change. And doing this research I did yesterday for today's show, I'm kind of thinking out loud, I wonder if we ought to start looking at the pendings a little bit harder than the days on.
Should look at listings and pendings, DOM. We do look at that in our stuff, and we are starting to see some lengthening.
Yeah, so I was more thinking about the volume of pendings.
The volume?
The volume
Yep.
of pendings that, because that's what shocked me when I did when I did this research yesterday. If you wouldn't mind putting slide 4 up, Judah, I'd appreciate it. This is the number of sales with an accepted contract. Now, this is per Realtor.com. It's a complete swath of everything in the 22963 area code. So that's Lake Monticello, Fluvanna. Last month there was 32 went under contract, but again, the next lowest was January of 17, which was 48, which is about a third down. So I think I'm going to start looking at the number of units going under contract, of course, connected with the DOMs. Does that make any sense to you?
It absolutely does, because
boy.
that's a barometer to kind of forecast what's going to happen with the market, I think. If all those things are working in the same direction, showing lengthening, and then the next step is to look at, well, what are they pricing at? Is pricing decreasing?
Well, we're looking. I'm just looking at some quick snapshots here. It looks like it's the same volume as about a year ago on price reduction. So I don't really know. I don't really think we're seeing a larger volume of price reduction. So any real estate agents out there, if you're seeing that, let us know. I just don't see a larger volume than we were a year ago. And since we've been doing this show a long time, I'm now looking at the same week 2 years ago. New on market was 82. Price changes were 58, so that was 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, we actually had more price changes than we do this week. Again, it's a 7-day snapshot. I just went back to November, it was 14th of 2021. So that's 2 full years back. It's the same thing. And I'm going to see if I'm smart enough and to have 3 years
Just
back.
putting on my econometric hat for a second. So if we're consistent on the volume, let's look at the actual, what is the average or median amount of price reductions that are happening in that period? So that's something I'm going to look at when I get back to the office.
So what you're suggesting is if the volume is the same, is the amounts greater?
Yeah.
I think that's a great.
Todd Raft, a real estate investor watching the program, the owner of Blue Toad Hard Cider. Todd, we love that you watch all our programs on this network. He says, I know it's tough, but following new construction sales would show something as well. Lots of rate buy-downs offered from the big builders right now.
Great cider, by the way, Todd. We like it at our house. New construction is difficult to track because so much of it's either not listed correctly or not listed at all. So, you have to get some internal information. I know one of our colleagues, Greg Slater, does a good job at tracking all of that. I know he sends out a monthly email on it.
He sends a monthly email, but that's a great thing. there's just a local recent builder that is I think Woody and I were talking about it, that are guaranteeing a 5 and something rate,
5.9.
5.9 for
That's
30
a
years.
substantial savings. We're
Yeah,
talking
so-
a point and a half.
So that's Greenwood Homes.
Yeah.
On that.
For how long?
So it's a 30 year. So I dug into it and I actually called the loan officer on that and called them. Here's the caveat to that. It's only on certain homes. It's homes that they want to close by January, right? And you have to be under contract within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it's a pretty short, narrow.
So they want to move some inventory.
You want to move some inventory. It's a smart move. They've got product.
Brilliant move.
Product at that. It's going to cost them, them meaning the builder, a substantial amount of money because they're prepaying the interest for 30 years is what they're doing on the difference of that. But back to what I was thinking earlier, because of these numbers we're talking about, and we've been talking about this on the show for a while, if you're in a position to buy, you really couldn't pick a better time to buy right now.
Sure.
Product is a little sticky, days on market. I can't believe we're thinking less than 2 or 3 weeks is sticky, but it's a little sticky on the market. If you want to buy, now's the time to negotiate and buy, particularly new construction. But it's existing. You can't walk in there and say, I want this and I want a custom
Right.
home. I want a home built a year from now.
Do you expect other builders to do the same?
Other builders are doing the
They are,
same.
yeah.
Local builders.
There are local builders are doing the
Which
same.
other ones?
Yeah, so they're not doing the interest rates. We've got a couple transactions going with Stanley Morton Homes where we were able to negotiate a substantial payment on their closing costs. In essence, the buyer is paying no closing costs, so it's basically a 3% on a purchase. We were able to negotiate that number in there. Got a little bit of a couple of upgrades, that kind of thing. I can't use but anymore. And it was on existing product, and it has to close the end of this year. And the two buyers fit that mold perfectly. They've got a home that is at a really good price in today's marketplace. They got the builders paying for their closing costs, which is great. That's 3% cash that they don't have to take out of their pocket. And they're going to close before the end of the year and move into a brand new home and then start building appreciation.
Matt Neese, welcome to the program.
Matt.
Jeremy Rowe, hello, welcome to the show. Tom Powell, welcome to the program. Cascadia's finest, Andre Xavier, watching the program. Questions coming in to the program. Kevin Higgins, hello. Aaron King, hello. This is a great one from Grayson, watching just down the street. He is astute. He says, in this interest rate environment, are we seeing the seller-financed opportunities returning, or are we not?
I think seller finance has always been there. They will always be there. I think, look, in order for it to be a seller financing situation, the house has to be paid off, right? That's the only way it really works.
The down payment can cover the debt service. That can work that way as well.
And any time I've ever negotiated for a buyer on that, when there was enough of a loan left over between covering the nut on it, going ahead,
Closing costs and real estate
closing
commissions.
costs,
Yeah.
commissions, paying legal fees to create the documents and all that stuff, it ends up being a substantial amount of money. So the path forward definitively works much better. And where it does also work well, if you're a seller, so if you're a seller and you want to hang on to this piece of property and it's paid for free and clear, the benefits of that is you get to retain ownership of your property, right? You go ahead and get a little bit of money down, 10%, 20%. You get a little bit of interest paid on it. Right now, if you're getting less than 5%, you're cheating yourself a little bit on that end of it. But what's the worst case scenario that could happen, Jerry, on that? What's the worst thing can happen?
I mean, they default on payments. They don't make the payments. You sell the house again.
You get the house back.
Yeah, you get the house back and you sell it again to somebody
You
else.
keep the deposit. You keep all the interest that
I think
you
it's
earn.
a brilliant option right now in today's market.
That's assuming you've got the right seller, right? And those right
And I
sellers.
think we're might seeing, and I'm curious of your take, I think we may be seeing more sellers like that as these DOMs uptick. I mean, you look at anyone who owns a home right now that's on the market, that's listed a house, has got a substantial payment coming due in early December with real estate taxes coming due. So a lot of folks that are trying to get out of houses are about to strike thousands of dollars of checks.
So this is why, You need trusted advisors like Woody, myself, and the folks that are part of our partners for Real Talk with Keith Smith on that end of it. Because you've got to have this conversation with the client, with the seller. So what's your goals and objectives? The couple of ones that we have recently done was they didn't need the cash. They didn't need the equity out of the current property. They also didn't want to, they were leased, they were rental properties. They also didn't want to get nailed with a 1031, and we came up with this plan that it works for them. But if you're in a situation that I've got to sell house A because I need all this equity that I built up over a period of time, which is a short period of time in today's marketplace, the buy, then you've got to flat out sell it. But you'll see a few coming on there, but it is not going to be some huge number that's going to impact the inventory. It's all going to be these little, tiny little pieces, these little silver pellets.
Daniel Miller, welcome to the broadcast on Keith's page. Fellas, this is a good question for you guys. Do you expect the inventory to uptick after Christmas and New Year's?
What do you think, Woody?
I think we're probably going to see an uptick. You
think so?
The early spring market and all of that. I mean, it's going to be stronger. It will be strong. I mean, that's when most people want to try to move that have children. So, I mean, I'm hoping that it will be.
I'm really interested. I think the key here is the tracking of the 30-year, right? So we're getting dangerously close to 7 at this point, depending on which lender you look at. So if there's any lenders out there watching, please give me what the 30-year rate is for good credit today.
Ricardo, give us that number.
What it is for today? I'm looking at bank rate, and that doesn't really tell us a whole lot at the moment. But I think what you're going to do is I think everybody's waiting for the holidays to get over. Everybody's waiting for what the Fed's going to do and what the 30-year rate's going to do, and tracking. The average buyer isn't tracking the 10-year T-bill and all that stuff. They're not. But what they're going to do is they're going to track that, and as things start getting a little bit lower on the interest rates, I think you're going to start seeing people putting inventory on the market. But guys, it is not going to be a substantial difference. You're not going to see this all of a sudden the inventory thing is solved, the crisis is solved. This requires a lot more than the three of us sitting at this table.
You agree with that, Woody?
Absolutely. I mean, in the end, the market's going to stay pretty static. I mean, it's always dynamic, but I mean, it will be static to a certain degree because we've got so many homeowners that unless there's a life-changing situation coming up, I talk about this every time I'm on. I mean, I'm at 2.9% on my mortgage. Why would I ever sell my property?
Unless you have to.
Yeah, if I've got to go take care of my mother-in-law and father-in-law in North Carolina, we've got to move, which, hopefully never happens. But, whatever. I mean, if my grandchildren move across the country, I'm probably going to follow them. But otherwise...
or you sweet talk them to come back here. That's how I did it.
I don't know, man. My son and his wife are very happy being an hour and a half away for some reason. I think it's because they have the first grandchildren in both families, and we're overabundant with our wanting to spoil them.
Oh, yeah. I got a phone, just to get off on the grandkid thing, I got a phone call Monday afternoon. Jonas decided to go and hang out in Richmond Monday night and work from Richmond all day long. And I was like, what about me?
That's great. Why don't you go?
Because somebody had to work.
Are you doing a lot more showings or listings, Keith?
Right now, what we are doing a lot more of is holding hands, to be perfectly honest in it. This is, our workload is off the charts, but this is all about doing hours and hours and hours of what we do every time we sit here, right? Provide information, talk to clients, communicate with them, which we love doing. What's your needs, what's your goals, what's your objectives, what they object to, and start talking to them about that. Okay, so if you're really in a position to buy right now and there's inventory to buy, that there's an opportunity to negotiate, why aren't we doing this now? What's the reason why? And then talk them through that. And ultimately, if that decision is they don't want to move forward, good for them. But we're also very direct. You understand if you if you wait and everybody else is waiting, and interest rates come down to say 6, and everybody jumps in the market, you will be paying more money for a home than you are today. Right now is a great opportunity to buy and potentially negotiate something. I can tell you, first quarter, second quarter, that opportunity is going to go away. And I'm fearful that if interest rates go down a little bit, we're going to go back to the insanity of 2020, 2021, no home inspections. Right now, you can negotiate home inspections, right? You can actually do a normal transaction right now, make it contingent on appraisal, right? There was a year and a half ago, people were wanting to do deals and bring in extra cash to cover your appraisal gap. That's kind of worked itself out, but I'll tell you, if the interest rates drop, you're going to see that stuff back again.
Katie Pearl, hello. Welcome to the program. Lovely
Katie, good
watch
to see
the
you
show.
the other day.
Albert Graves, hello. John Snow, hello. Kristen Smith, Jehu Martin, welcome to the broadcast. Olivia Branch, watching the program over in Keswick. Thank you for watching the show, guys. Woody, Zillow, a unique animal,
It is.
did an about face with how it perceives values to track.
Oh, yeah.
I read the news just like others, and Zillow, a handful of months ago, suggested values for homes would appreciate 4 to 5 points. Now Zillow's recent metric said values will drop on homes, and they reference the interest rate environment, DOM's lengthening. Do we pick apart Zillow like Thanksgiving turkey and disregard the Zillow metric, or is there any legitimacy to it?
I have a hard time following Zillow in the sense that this is the same company a year and a half, 2 years ago, shut down their own portfolio business of buying property.
iBuyers.
And yeah, the iBuyer thing. I mean, their metrics that they have behind the glass door is amazing. They can run all kind of metrics, but they weren't very good at forecasting what was best for their investment portfolio. So I don't know. Maybe they're right, but in the end, I mean, it's not really an entity that I would put a lot of faith in because they've not. What's the word I'm looking for? Their proof of concept has been poor over the last couple of years with that kind of thing.
So I'll take it from a different perspective. So the thing with Zillow is it's a national thing. There are markets within the United States that the prices is decreasing. And all you got to do is listen to what we've been doing, looking at the reports, and try to buy a home and you'll find out it's not coming down this market. But I'm going to ask you as an appraiser, right? You do this region quite extensively.
Yes.
Are you seeing prices dropping?
We've seen some price normalization. I won't really call it
Let me try to question it a different way. Are you seeing homes increase year over year or decrease year over year?
For the most part, everything's still going up.
Yeah.
I mean, interior Charlottesville and Albemarle, we're still at a very good rate of appreciation in those markets. Green's starting to settle some.
What does settle mean?
It's normalizing. It's going back to a more normal market. We just did some stuff in Twin Lakes, and there's nothing there that's indicating a decrease, but the year-over-year increase is definitely pacing downwards.
So the percentage of year-over-year increase is decelerating,
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
not
Yeah.
decreasing.
Right. Yep.
That I see. I see a deceleration of percentage year-over-year gain. I do not see a depreciation of that year-over-year gain. But you're the expert.
Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing any decreasing values. I mean, the values are very strong across the region, and if we start seeing that happening, it's going to be in your tertiary and secondary markets first.
Which means outer counties.
Yeah, it's going to be the very rural areas where it's a lifestyle choice to want to live that far away sometimes. I mean, if you're an hour out from where you're working, it's a tremendous strain on your budget if you're commuting into work every day. So
this question's been put on the feed. You guys talk about this often. Any inventory coming on the market of the new construction variety? Are we still in the red tape, bureaucracy, as Keith likes to call it, throttle?
builders are being pragmatic. I mean, they're not going to put a lot of spec builds out there right now, and nor would I if I were them. But I mean, a big bulk of my lending business right now is still new construction. we're still doing a bunch of it. I mean, Spring
Yeah.
Creek's going along nicely. The stuff outside of Old Trail's going along nicely, and they're not having any trouble selling them. I mean,
Yeah, so they're throttling it back, right? They don't want to oversell the inventory. What I mean by inventory, this is lots that they have in the production side of the house. Custom homes is a whole different animal into itself. But in the production side of the house, here's the first thing: the people that are in it, the entities that are in it, we can count on less than 5 fingers.
What do you got?
In our region, right?
You got Stanley Martin.
Stanley Martin,
You got
Green-
Ryan Holmes.
Ryan Holmes,
Southern.
Southern,
I mean, you
Greenwood.
just highlighted Greenwood.
Greenwood.
That's 4.
That's pretty much
You
it.
throw Liberty in there.
You could throw Liberty, but Liberty is not necessarily a developer.
they're a
But
different animal.
They're a different
Yeah.
animal. They go out and buy existing lots.
Uh-huh.
I would consider
They're
them.
kind of a hybrid.
I would consider them what they call a scattered site builder,
Okay.
right?
like
Which is
that.
the technical term for it. But the ones that go in and buy a bunch of lots in Spring Creek or whatever it is, or they develop like Stanley Martin, Southern Development, and Greenwood. Their model is acquire dirt, create their own inventory, and build vertical.
Miles Hamrick giving Woody some props. John Phelan
Phelan, yeah, from Kentucky, yeah.
from
Hey,
Louisville
John, hey,
giving
hey,
you some
hey,
props.
Miles.
But the-
Miles, an appraiser. Jump in here with the conversation, Miles.
So to answer the question, they're going to very aggressively sell inventory they have in the ground. This is what these big
Get it off its
corporate-
balance sheet.
There you go. Get it off the
Immediately.
balance before the end of the year. They're
Yeah.
going to be super incentivized to get it. They'll probably stretch it out to the first 30 days of next year because they could do some balance sheet magic on it to end up for the year before. How they do that is whatever.
That's up to them.
That's up to them.
Yeah.
But there's magic that one can do in that line of work on it. But in any event, what they've got going on, ready to close, they're going to be highly aggressive on it.
This is an interesting question from Stefan, who's an investor. Are the small builders getting completely out right now?
Small builders are definitely on the edge, and not that.
Well,
they're-
what work would they have?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have economy of scale like the big builders have, it's really hard because land is so expensive and the development costs are up there now.
So I was a small medium developer builder, went through every market from 87 to the insanity of 09, a time of great unpleasantness. I was always more expensive than everybody else. It's what product you serve, what service, how you serve it, how you do it. There will always be a niche market for that, but it's not going to get us out of the housing inventory crisis that we're in. Will be niche market. People come in with funny accents like mine down here that go ahead and build.
Cully Baggett, the developer and builder watching the program here. Joshua Tracy, thank you kindly for watching the program. We really love when you guys watch the show. Heather Walker, Johnson Village's finest, watching the show right now. We broke the news about Northrop Grumman and $200 million into Waynesboro yesterday.
Yeah. And
Went viral. What do
So-
we expect from $200 million with Northrop Grumman into Waynesboro?
300 employees, right? If I
300
remember.
plus new jobs.
high-paying employees
High-
like that.
And
Yeah.
that goes back.
The governor's cabinet specifically said the words, high-paying jobs.
Yeah. So that is literally the best place to go, the other side of the hill. Why is that?
I don't think the folks that are going to be working at this Northrop Grumman facility will be living in the Waynesboro area.
I bet you they will.
I think they're going to be living in the Crozet area and commuting
The
over the mountain.
initial will
Because
do
remember,
that.
these are six-figure plus jobs.
And remember, the other side of the hill is very developer, new construction friendly at the moment, right? And so you're going to start seeing some migration of the big guys going out there for acquisition and development and creating a subdivision. There's inventory out there already to go ahead and do that.
Roger Voisinay, welcome to the program. What are your thoughts, Roger, of RE/MAX? What are your thoughts on that topic, Woody Fincham?
I mean, when you get into the executive level stuff, Waynesboro and that area, it's a great community. My son and his wife lived there until they moved to Chesterfield last year. I think school systems really play into it, right? I mean, if you're making really high-paying wage, you're able to go to private school most of the time anyway. But don't rule out Harrisonburg, because we do a lot of work up in Harrisonburg. There's a lot of higher-end stuff up there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, and
go
great
ahead.
views too.
Miles Hamrick, who's in the game, right? Miles, where are you watching the show?
He's outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
He says national builders are land banking entitled land here.
Amen.
Oh, you're right. And west of Charlotte, North Carolina, they're slowly building inventory to manage retail prices.
There you go.
Unpack what he's saying.
Who do you want to tackle that one?
Jerry, I'm sorry, I spaced out for a second.
So I'll tackle it. It's exactly what I've been saying. So the developers, the people that can do this, that have the deep pockets, are in the process of acquiring, going through the entitlement. So that's the rezoning site plan process. Keep in mind, if you listen to the show, you know around here, that's anywhere between 3 to 6 years, right, to go do this. They have the capital to do it and carry forward. Small builder does not.
Right.
Right? They're left over. They're have to deal with what's available to buy, which is minimal on that end
That's
of it.
usually infill lots and things like that. They're
Infill
usually
lots.
Oftentimes less desirable pieces of land.
And what they'll do, because full disclosure, I consult for these folks and help them in this area. I know what's going on, and that's exactly what they're doing. That's the reason I know the other side of the hill, they're already doing this. Everybody knew this was coming. The people in the know, they've been acquiring land, putting contracts in, working through the system to do it. But the comment that gentleman made was they are managing the inventory so they can then manage the
Price point.
Price point.
Yeah, because if you throttle inventory, prices are going to go up.
So real quick, Greene County, single-family detached, no new construction, year-to-date, this year, the median, I just picked median for the sake of the show, is 370,000. Same time period last year was 350. That's a 6% increase.
Right.
So year over year, your home went up 6%. And I think, my prediction is, you will start seeing going forward the normal somewhere between 3 to 6% year over year. In a larger footprint, there'll be micro markets that matter that might go down. There's also ones that are going to go up too. The closer you get to the urban ring, I think your year over year percentage is going to grow.
Generally, that's correct, yeah.
So, but right now, just a quick look at it. This was just median real quick. It's at 6% year over year.
Not bad for a realtor.
How are your colleagues doing, Keith? You talk to a lot of realtors, you talk to a lot of brokers. What's the mood? What's the temperature?
Yeah, so look, we as an industry got a lot of things coming our way, and you know, everything from, you know, what's going on. We've talked about it till we're blue in the face in the show. All you got to do is read the news. This shift pivoting that's going on how one gets compensated is there every. You know, look, I've been doing this for 3.5 decades. There's always shifts that come in here. The market is now, you know, down to 2015 and 16 volumes. We've documented that on the show. So that's impacting people. So their salaries or how much money they make is down. So there's a lot of pressure on it. And you have to communicate these shifts, these changes to a lot of people. And some have the skill sets to do it and some do not.
What do you think of the Andy Zeman conversation from Friday and follow-up meeting you had?
Yeah, I think Andy is pretty straightforward and is kind of echoing everything we've been talking about this for a while. There is going to be an shift. I'm trying to be thoughtful of my dear friend who's sitting to the right of me, who's on the car board, to keep him out of trouble. But I'll say this: this time next year, we're probably going to be close to 40 to 50% less agents. And you know what? I don't think that's such a bad thing.
What are your thoughts on that, Woody? And curious on a different topic.
The people that don't belong in the business will
calling the herd.
We'll call out.
Calling the herd. Curious on a different topic. How does it impact the appraisal business?
The appraisal business is getting ready to shift big time. The GSEs, that's the government-sponsored entities like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and then the agencies, FHA, VA, they are getting ready to do a massive form retrofit, which means that the current appraisal report form that we use for lending work is getting ready to transition over to a new format. And it's a major change. I actually welcome the change because unlike a lot of people who do what I call commodity service work for the lenders, they only do form work. We write a lot of narrative reports, and what form reports we do write have a lot of writing in them and charts and things like that. And the new format's going to allow it actually expands. So I know when you guys are reading appraisal reports, they give you two lines on the form to talk about something that really needs 2 pages, and so we have to jump everybody to addendums.
Well,
and
look
things
at
like
the
that.
number, brother. Did we hit the number? Did we hit the number?
And anyway,
Am I know what I'm doing?
it's a good thing in the sense that all that narrative will all now be in one spot because we have expanding forms. But the median age for like an SRA with the Appraisal Institute, that's one of the designations that I have. I think the median age for that is like 61. So a lot of folks are getting towards the end of their career, and they just don't want to make that big shift. Now, unfortunately, I've got a lot of colleagues across the country currently that some of them are saying they haven't seen work in weeks and months, and they're having to do something else for a living because they've tapped into their savings, and now that's gone dry.
That's
and
because
they're
they
doing
didn't
other things.
diversify like you did. You
True.
diversified quite a few years ago, right?
Yeah,
you do multiple.
I got hit really hard in 2008, and I learned a very important lesson back then. You don't want one client having more than 25% of your business.
There you go, brother.
I don't want to do just lending work. I mean, we really are concentrating on doing it as little lending work as we have to do.
So it's interesting. I crunched some numbers because there were some viewers and listeners from previous shows. It was asking, what percentage of real estate agents do the percentage of the market, and I've got a crazy spreadsheet I created, so I'm going to try to explain this real quickly. But to make a very simple analogy,
Was it, can I guess? 8% of the agents do 90% of the business?
you read the email.
Oh, I actually don't read.
Is that
Don't read those
You
emails.
are-
Jerry doesn't do his homework. He's
I
told
do
you
not
that.
read those
It's
emails.
actually 7%.
7%. 7%.
But I broke it down differently, right? Because, in order to net, and this depends on many different factors, but in order to, as a real estate agent, in order to put in their pocket after expenses and everything like that and taxes, $50,000, something like that.
Oh, that was a good email. I did read that one.
I know you did.
I did read that one.
My
I did
heart,
read that
my
one.
heart broke there for a minute.
did
to be
read that
honest
one.
with you. I thought maybe our relationship was over.
This was good. This was good. And Dan Pettit, we'll get to your comments, questions coming in. This is a good snapshot you did. Go ahead.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I got to
this
get
is
it
good.
back. Thank God I got notes in front of me.
Yeah.
So in order, and I don't want to break into the details because it depends on splits with agents and your commissions, all this stuff. But in simple terms, in order to put in your pocket after you pay the federal government all your expenses, an actual income, 50 grand, you've got to make about $5 million in sales, right? Only 15% of our 1,000, let me get this number right, 1,094 current real estate agents right now
And car.
in car hit that goal. So everything above that do not.
15% of the agents in car make 50K or more.
Yeah, it may plus or minus
Yeah.
$10,000 because it depends on your split and your expenses and, do you actually put money aside for the government like you're supposed to, 20 to 30%? So I've allocated 20% of it. But here's the deal. In order to make 6 figures in your pocket, which, oh, by the way, what is the area median income?
123.3.
So you're not even hitting the area median income on that. You've got to do $10 million in sales, right? Again, there's all kinds of formulas, but that's kind of where you're at. There's only 7% of the 1,094 agents in our marketplace that put in their pocket over 100K. And if I went and dug a little bit more into it, that 7% would even drop more if you do 125. Obviously, the higher you go
Sure.
up in salary, that drops.
So you're saying there's 77 agents in car that come close to the area median income.
73 agents,
73 agents in car.
based on their data that I pulled apart yesterday.
That's
would
not that surprising though.
No.
I mean, our MSA is rather small, so that's
It's 1,094 agents. Now, my suspicion is probably when they hit the reset button in the beginning of the year, that 1,094 is probably going to drop substantially.
yeah, I think so.
But at the moment, to be exact, it's 6.6728%. And it's 100, and I rounded it up. If you do the certain formulas right, you roughly make about $108,000 net after you pay the federal government all your expenses, your fees, cost of goods, cost of sales.
So what's that tell you?
What it tells
Unpack that. And Jesse Bellavance watching, and he says, I'm not even an agent anymore, but I absolutely love this show. It's
Thank you.
so informative.
Awesome.
Thank you. And he's one hell of a nope, sorry, got the wrong guy. I was thinking he was an artist.
It's a hell of a dude.
Hell of a dude.
Yeah.
So what? I don't know what that tells me. It tells me that it's something that maybe in the industry it's always kind of been this way. There's a small percentage of people that do the majority of the work. I can tell you the people that are in this 6 or 7% range, these 75 agents, or let's call it 75 to 100, they're not going to go away because they're pros. They know how to do the job, right? When you're doing $10 million worth of business, you oughta, if you don't, you should, have an assistant. So you're paying people, right? You're running a business, the business of real estate. $5 million, you're kind of right there. When you start hitting down a little bit lower than that,
I would say if you're doing $5 million in sales and your gross,
That's good.
And your gross is $50K,
yeah, it's roughly 45, 50K.
I
depending.
would say that would be a challenging business to run.
Yeah, so it depends on how you break your numbers.
Challenging business to run in this market.
So I took that down and broke it down like if I was writing a business plan for somebody, right? Do they really put 20% away for the federal government? If they don't, they're making a huge mistake, but some don't, right? So that 20%, which is $18,000, if you don't do that, comes directly to the bottom line. You're going to end up getting hit if you don't do that. So it's very smart to put that money away into account. And I've got like a 40% cost of goods, cost of sales built into that. That's your car, that's your dues.
Your marketing, your photography, videography.
Your fuel, everything that you need to roll into a business. Now, somebody might have a lower number than that, 20% or 25%. So that could impact that bottom number up and down. But just on the basic industry norms, you've and I did it on a 2.5% eggs, right, as an average, because according to what I'm reading, that's about what's average going out there. But if you bump that up to 3, then obviously your bottom line comes up. But to hit that 50 to 60-ish plus or minus range, you've got to put out about $5 million in sales.
Sarah Hill-Buchensky, welcome to the program. Daniel Rushing, welcome to the program. I believe he's adjunct faculty at Gardner-Webb University, watching on Woody's page right here. Mustache Dan Pettit, welcome to the show. He says, and Dan Pettit's been in the game, what, 40 years?
Oh, I think he was born in there back in
He says,
the
your
Stone
last
Age.
show on commissions was an eye-opening experience for me and the entire industry and its future. Thank you for this. Folks need to be educated on what you can expect and what you should be doing for your clients, your sellers, and your buyers.
Yeah.
Fantastic program.
Thank you. We wanted to tackle it from a high level, but the caveat here is talk to your broker, because as an agent, your broker is the one that guides which way you're going to go in the state of Virginia. You can do that. I do want to pick a quick number apart, because I also wanted to take a look at the actual, and we did this on the show the other day, and I wung it a little too light and loose, so I went back and spent a couple hours and dug into it. So the percentage of sales that are done by Bright agents in our footprint is 8%.
8%?
I misquoted a number. I think I quoted a number way higher than that because I wasn't factoring out things correctly. So that means 92% of all the sales. So there was up to year to date, there's 6,036 sales. 484 of them were from Bright or unrepresented or some other entity other than a car agent. So that means car agents
92?
are doing 92%.
And that
I wanted to point
includes,
out.
and I learned something.
But that's only our 6 jurisdiction footprint. I specifically did not include the other side of the mountain and stuff because they the Northern Virginia agents start bleeding in there when you start getting closer up that way.
I learned this, and that includes for sale by owners. And
No, this
FSBO is not an acronym we can use. We learned this from Candace. That's
Yeah.
actually a, what is that? What's the term?
trademarked, I believe.
Trademark, yeah. It's actually, I think it's a brokerage.
It's a brokerage, but if you read any article, they use the term.
They use the moniker.
They use the term. So for sale by owner is doing it. That does not. We don't know if that includes for sale by owners.
Are teams considered in this 7% as one unit?
Yes. Great question. Yes. Teams are considered as one.
You should unpack that for the viewers and listeners.
So if you're under a specific team, under a specific person, it counts it as one. You don't necessarily have to do that. So we are not a team. We're a full service brokerage. So each one of our agents have their own count of dollar volume in units. But if you operated all under one team license, it counts as one. So if you look at Denise Remy, it's one, right? So forth and so on.
Okay. Questions? Put them in the feed.
It's a great question, by the way.
We'll relay them live on air. Charles Benjamin, welcome to the. You got a lot of folks in the business watching the show right now. Sam McGrain, hello. Ivy Haynes, hello. Christelle, hello. Gina Downey, hello.
They're looking for information,
Yeah,
right? And
that's what's happening here.
And we need to be careful because we don't want to cross any lines so that anybody at this table gets sued. But we also want to give honest answers to whatever their questions may be. Look, if you're in the business right now,
Mitchell Kapulas, great
Mitch.
program, great information for both agents and appraisers. Wyatt Roberts, Chuck McGee, Wes McGee, and welcome to the broadcast. Woody Fincham is a popular guy in the appraisal business and in the real estate business. His feed and page often blow up on this show. You got a smile on your face when you heard the name Mitchell.
Mitch is an appraiser down in Louisiana. I actually spent some time with him, and my daughter and I went down to see a concert in New Orleans, and him and Joe Meir are good friends, and they set aside a day for us to go fishing with them. It was a good time.
that's one of my favorite parts of the world. I love it down there.
I love New Orleans. It's a great melting pot of culture.
Great food, great
Oh my gosh,
music,
yes.
great music. Don't spend a lot of money, and the people are just freaking awesome. It's
If you
a lot
love
of fun.
music, you can go in one place. They're playing a song that you know, and then you go across the street. They're playing it in a different version,
and you can
so
walk
forth and
across
so
the
on.
street with a cocktail in your hand.
Candace, you're tailor-made for this this show. You're informative. You look great. You know what you're talking about. You do deals. From my account, you're welcome on this program anytime. She says the term FSBO increases their marketing and gives them props.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
So she says that. She's watching the program right now.
So for sale by owner, thank you very much, Candace, for keeping us straight. So I think what we were talking about for sale by owner at that particular time. So this shift that's going on, right? If you just think about transactions as if they were all for sale by owner, you'll be in great shape. Look, at the end of the day, I've said it publicly. I'll keep on saying it. We kind of did this to ourselves, right? And but what I was going to say earlier, look, everybody knows if you're in this business, everybody knows you're a little slow right now. So instead of hitting the panic button, use this opportunity in the next 30, 60, 90 days to get better educated, get better at your skill levels, get
I'm seeing
better
a lot
at
of individual agents pursuing brokers designation.
Yeah, that's always look.
A lot of associate brokers happening.
Yeah, and that's always been the case. But what are you going to do with it? That's the question, right? Right. So if you're not going to get a broker's license and go through the brain damage of actually opening up your own brokerage, which I've got the 42 pages of the Code of Virginia in my hand about that, which requires you to have a physical space, you got to have an address, you got to have all kinds of insurances and compliances and all that stuff. people don't want to do that. The reason regular agents get it, it's just an extra level of, look, I'm even...
knowledge.
It's really the same as an agent. It's just...
Something for the signature line.
There you go.
The LinkedIn page, the Facebook
If
account.
you're willing to open up a brokerage, then you need a broker's license to do that. But I can assure you the brain damage of doing that is a lot, and we should do numbers one day on how much brokerages make. They don't make as much as everybody.
This is a great question from Kelsey. What's the difference between a broker and an associate broker?
There isn't, right? It's a broker's license. An associate broker operates under another brokerage, right? So what could happen, just an operational perspective, right? If Yona's the principal broker, I'm an associate broker, Yona needs to go away for a month or get sick or something.
He's in charge.
Yeah, scary, isn't it? Did you notice I don't have one for that reason? But that's what would happen, right? So that associate broker would step in to do that because everything operates under the brokerage.
Russell Roberts, we love Woody Fincham.
Hey, Russell.
Mitchell watching the program, and he says, actually, it sounds like he likes, is Mitch the preferred nomenclature?
I think so.
The preferred moniker?
I think so.
Woody, looking forward to getting you back down here for some LSU football. Russell, maybe a little zing at Capulas. Is that French, as in Cajun? And Mitch responds, no, it's Greek. The folks are chitter-chatting on Woody's Facebook page or the comment section right now.
So they actually thought that was Cajun, his last name?
I think they know each other.
Oh,
They're just kind of zinging each other. Is
Yeah,
that what's happening?
we exist in a very small sphere.
Yeah,
as far
I
as
was going to
appraisers
say,
go.
the appraisal world.
So how is, speaking of that, so you're a small world, you guys communicate pretty closely, how...
No, actually, we don't communicate well.
Oh.
There's just a small group of us within that small group that actually kind of keep tabs on what each other are doing.
So do you think this O-shift change is going to change that end of your business?
I don't think so. Appraisers have always sort of been like islands into themselves. And when Dodd-Frank came through back in 09 and 10, it really broke up a lot of the regional firms. We've got a couple here in Virginia, in the Charlottesville market, that are small firms. But for the most part, it did a lot of damage to keeping appraisers in groups, which has damaged the profession because, if you're out there by yourself and not paying attention to what's going on, where are you getting your information to how you're going to compete within your market and how other people are doing things? And it makes it very easy for entities outside of the profession to kind of push the profession around, unfortunately. So we're not as together as we probably should be.
This might be the water cooler for the appraisers. We got another one watching. John Capulas, watching in Port Chester, New York on the program. He says, what's up, fellas? First timer on the program, and he loves what he's seeing.
John is an interesting guy in the appraisal profession. He started a Facebook page called Ask the Appraiser. And it has gotten up to 30-some thousand members so far. And it's grown a lot in the last couple of months. And I'm actually a moderator over there. And it's a fun little page because what it is it's designed for agents to come in and other people that are stakeholders, external stakeholders to the appraisal profession, to ask questions. And we get questions from all over the country. It's a very interesting group.
That is the definition of content is currency. And I think the winners and losers in this market, which, let's cut to the chase, it's a tight and difficult market right now, are those that are going to understand the concept of content as currency and brand. Time will tell.
And their professionalism and their ability to educate folks. That's a great thing. I was not aware of that. So
Mitch says to Woody, the good appraisers have been able to pivot away from lending work and remake their business away from lending, because that's going to be crucial.
Yeah.
Well, diversification is always key in any business model. If you put your eggs in one basket, you're going to have a problem. But in that platform, what are the top one or two questions that are usually asked?
Oh, it's so varied, and it really depends on where the agents are from. But I mean, we get a lot of questions like, well, someone converted a garage and it was not permitted at the time of the conversion. Will that affect the appraisal?
So what's the answer to that?
Well, honestly, it depends on the market that you're in. I've seen, because I used to be the chief appraiser at a very large national appraisal firm, we would see different things in different markets. Like around Orlando and that area down there, it was very common for you to have, you got a 1960s ranch, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, maybe 2 baths, and they convert the garage into a den or another bedroom. And for the most part, they didn't pull permits for it. That market accepts it without really any issues from what we were able to ascertain. But then you get into other markets where that's not the case. And some lenders, to their own, I don't even know the right way to say it, but I mean, some lenders want appraisers to be what I refer to as the permit police, where we're going back and looking at permit history on the property. Well, if the market's not reacting to it, there's really no need for us to do a lot of extra diligence on it. But some mortgage companies have come to appraisers and said, hey, if it's not permitted, you can't count it. And it's like, well, I can't pretend like it doesn't exist. It's there, thus it has some
value,
contributory value, whether it's a plus or a minus. It's my job to figure out. Mortgage companies sometimes get a little bit, and they really want us to do more than we really ought to be doing in some situations.
Roger Voisinay said you should have included Craig Builders on that list.
There you go. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
So that's 5. That's one hand.
That would be 6.
No, I think
you counted Liberty as a scatter?
Liberty, I don't think I would count on it because Sam and Craig's Builders do a little bit of development. But he's 100% right. Thank you, Roger, for keeping me straight.
Roger Voisinay, love when you watch the program. Candace giving Woody some props. She says she often tunes in to hear what Woody has to say. She says the show is easy with us hosting the program. She looks forward to coming back on the show. Candace, thank you for your commentary today. How do you value basements in your appraisal, Woody Fincham? That from Mustache Dan Pettit, one of my favorite viewers and listeners.
How do we value basements? Mm-hmm. So basements do contribute, in our region of the world, often do contribute value. Finish quality does matter. Some basements are designed to be finished out later on. Some basements are just utilitarian spaces where you're going to store things, and the ceiling height's too low to really do much with. If you've got a lot of ductwork hanging down and plumbing and things like that, it may not necessarily be what we would consider living space. The mortgage entities like Fannie and Freddie have come out with, if it is subgrade or below grade, any part of it, we can't consider it as part of the gross living area, so it doesn't contribute to the overall value the same way that the above grade finished area would contribute. But they definitely add value, and everything's going to. The answer to any appraisal question is it depends. Maybe
yes, maybe no yes.
Yeah, I mean it really comes down to what we're dealing with specifically to that property. So.
Yeah. So. It's an interesting answer, an interesting question, and I appreciate the answer because that's stuff that we get asked all the time in the CMA and go, okay, how much value does this have? Now, it could be non-conforming, but people are living in it and they're using it,
sure,
right? And that adds value. That there has some value there to it, and how one determines the value is. And I'm going to pivot a little bit back to this shift that's kind of coming down, this decoupling, for lack of a better term. What kind of struggles do you think that's going to present for you as an appraiser?
Well, anytime you have an shift moment.
Caveat.
Yep, you need to.
Yeah, anything I talk about is my own personal opinion, not that of CAR, since I sit on the board there.
And I'm asking this as an appraiser.
Yeah, I'm answering it as a general appraisal question. So contributory value is difficult for appraisers to figure out in a lot of cases. On the agent side, it's going to be very difficult because, and I'm not picking on agents at all, but a lot of agents have never been correctly schooled on how to do a proper CMA, a comparable market analysis. Yeah. And it's essentially, it's set up oftentimes like an appraisal would be set up, but there's no standard adjustment for anything. I mean, I can do the same model ranch at Lake Monticello 6 months apart from another one, and the actual adjustments that we use for gross living area are often going to be different because we're modeling information as of the date that we're doing the appraisal. So if the market's been shifting upwards then or downwards or whatever, we are going to change that adjustment based on what the data is telling us. A lot of times, I'll get calls from agents and, hey, what do you use for gross living area adjustment in this particular subdivision? And again, my answer is usually, well, it depends. There's a lot more to consider than just the GLA, because how you adjust for bathrooms and how you adjust for garages are going to affect how you adjust for the gross living area. So it's never I think a lot of folks think that we keep a list of adjustments on our desk, and that's what we use to do all of our adjustments, but we don't. It comes down as a professional to learn how to, if you don't know how to use Microsoft Excel or something similar to it, learn it. So you can get your data into spreadsheets and you can start using comparable units to look at different things. I'm currently writing a class on how to do this using RPR, which is a National Association of Realtors tool. And
which is a pretty awesome tool.
It really is. It's a very powerful tool and would be very successful in the right person's hands, but you got to understand how to do it.
It is.
The appraisals are all over the show right now.
This is
clearly Woody Fitchum's influence. You should see the commentary that's coming in here. I'll happily read it on air if you guys would like me to. Mitch says private Facebook groups have become a lifeline for appraisers to make themselves available to nearly all stakeholders and market participants. This is an interesting comment. I think we're immediately going to get pushback from Keith Smith on this comment. Okay? This is from...
Thanks for the heads up.
I'm letting you know. Russell Roberts. Okay? He says, the smart money does not sell in this environment.
Well, Russell's down, I believe, in Mississippi. It's a different world down there than we are here. So that may be true of where he's at, but, you know.
My hearing aids are connected to Siri, and Siri's answering that question in my hearing aids. You actually are, that's probably the first time our chemistry didn't click off. It's exactly what I've been saying, right? If we'll call it smart money, but if you are a sophisticated seller or sophisticated buyer, the pool of those are not that deep, right? But if you're a sophisticated seller, right, and you are in a position to go ahead and hold on to house A and buy house B and go ahead and turn it into a rental or whatever you're doing, or for sale by owner, quote unquote, let's call that smart money. Absolutely. Why would you sell? According to the National Association of Realtors, though, 60, 80, I can't recite the number off the top of my head, somebody can Google it, have to move. They have to move.
Let me add to this. Russell is an MAI. He's a commercial appraiser.
Oh, yeah.
So he's, I'm guarantee you.
That's a whole.
It's a different ball of wax.
I would love to have a conversation with him because I think commercial is the next struggle point. If the Fed doesn't lower interest rates down and these things start resetting, which they reset very quickly on it, there's going to be, and believe me, I've been through this drill before with my acquisition and development money.
There's a bloodbath getting ready to happen on the appraisal side of things on the commercial real estate front because the big firms that have hundreds and hundreds of appraisers on staff across the country, they've been cutting their fees big time, and it's really hurting the small boutique firms that only have one or two appraisers in them. Because they can't compete with them, and they're at volume, so they can scale a little bit when you're a national company. But it's driven the fees down for them, and it's hard for
to put it in perspective. And that's the reason why the 5 people we listed on one hand generally uses cash for their development stuff because they've got it. They don't borrow it. But yours truly used to borrow it, right? And
actually, some of them do borrow because I do some of the pre-construction appraisal work.
Do you really?
Yeah, I won't mention who, but yes.
Yeah, well, I would not say only a couple of the 5 do that. And at the moment, at 2 points over prime,
that's expensive.
That's expensive money. So to put it in perspective, to those that may have not in this game, I borrowed $10 million to acquire and develop a project that's going to take me years to do it. It's always 1% or 2% over whatever prime is. So as every month, as prime resets, it sets my invoice, right? So if prime goes up, it costs me more money. If prime goes down, it costs me less money to go ahead and do that. And oh, by the way, now it used to be you could get a deal started with a little bit of cash in your pocket. They want a substantial amount of cash down. As guaranteed.
So, gentlemen, as we wind down here, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and the close of 2023. How about this question for you guys? As we reflect on the year that was, how would you characterize and describe 2023? Would you say it was included in the pandemic boom years? Would you say it was the last year of the pandemic boom? Would you say it was a transition year? How would you characterize the year that was 2023
In real estate.
in real estate?
It's the year that the COVID boom market got neutered. It just, we're definitely changing because of the interest rate environment. And let's face it, the previous years to it, leading into it, have been, it was almost a false environment. The interest rates were just too low. I don't know what it's going to look like in 10 or 15 years, but I don't know that the economists are going to look back at this period of time and think that it was.
They're going to carve it right out.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to see it as a positive at all.
I think they're going to carve out that, and we talked about this way back when at this 2 or 3%. I just didn't know what impact it was going to have, but I knew it was negative. Specifically, what it's going to have. I kept on telling everybody, don't get used to this. This is not the normal. I think we 2023 got the real estate, as far as volume goes, as far as number of transaction goes, got its Band-Aid ripped off. From 2020 to 2023, we're down over 60% in volume and sales. So 2020 was kind of the beginning of it, the height of COVID, and we've worked our way down. Conversely, value is going to continue to go up because there's just no inventory. It's a simple science.
Can I get a little dark for a minute?
Sure.
You're going to break out the heavy metal music? Or something?
Dystopian.
Let's turn on the Slayer music. Yeah. So look at where investors are parking their money right now in real estate. I've been approached by. I'm considered an accredited investor. So I've gotten several folks that have reached out to me because I guess my name gets on certain lists, and they're like, "Hey, we're building a 200-unit subdivision in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We'd love for you to invest with us." And what they're doing is they're building individual single-family detached homes on their own lots. They're on their own legal entity, but one investment group owns all 200 units, and it's build to lease is what they're calling it. And because of the COVID years, values have shot way up. So the return to the investors is very good because rents are still super high and still going up. So I'm wondering maybe if we're going into an era of where homeownership's going to be a luxury thing. It's not going to be a thing that most people are going to have.
All you got to do is look at how much it costs.
Exactly. The barrier of entry right now is price.
I can't remember, and help me out, Jerry. I think it was CNN just put out that this is, put out what the average income is required to buy right now.
It's about $111.
Is it $111,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's on a 425 home. And I would say in this area, good luck finding a 425.
I remember when I first got into business, making six figures seemed like, wow, that'd be really nice to do.
Yeah, sure.
And now it's,
you almost have to.
You can barely pay your bills doing it.
Yeah. So I do want to caution folks that listen to that.
Yeah.
That's very market specific, right?
Yes. Everything's hyper-local in what we do.
And for those that are watching the program that are out of market, the market we're in is extremely expensive. Area median income, Keith likes to highlight, according to HUD, is $123,300 per household. So it's very expensive to live here.
It's expensive. There's not a lot of inventory. We are insulated basically around this bubble of UVA. But what you're talking about, these are like the Vegases, these other marketplaces out there that path can happen. But it only echoes what we talked about earlier about the developer. These are publicly traded companies that they're raising their cash level up so they can go out and go ahead and do that. It's only going to squeeze it out. But it's 11:30 and we need to wrap up. Look, for the real estate, local market, for the real estate agents that are watching this, this is your opportunity this next couple of months. Don't slow down. This is the time to ramp up your education level, study a buyer-broker agreement, come up with 100 reasons why you should use me as a buyer-broker. On that end of it, it's your time just to increase your thing. Learn how to do a better CMA. This is that time to go ahead and do this because when that's in our marketplace, when that interest rate starts getting a little bit lower, let's be pros when the insanity comes back again, guys.
There you go. Keith Smith, Woody Fincham, guys. Real Talk with Keith Smith show archived online wherever you get your podcasts and at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. The I Love Seville show is up in 59 minutes, and we will lead with breaking news on yet another day. 59 minutes, the I Love Steve-O show. So long, everybody.
Thanks, Woody. When's your flight, man?
Gonna be